Hi, I'm Carrie and welcome to my channel. Today I'm doing a VR to Kate over at Moonflower Moment and her hashtag My Gratitude decks. I really enjoyed her video and listening to her stories and a commentary about how the decks or certain decks really made an impact on her or her practice in the past year. So I really wanted to participate in this tag, and she had tagged me in the video also. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The first prompt is the deck that has stood by my side through my darkest moments like a sister. Okay, well, I have all brothers, so I don't know what that sister energy is like, but the deck I chose to show for that is the Influence of the Angels Tarot. I've spoken about this deck so many times on here. People are probably tired of hearing about it, but this deck is so supportive. I'll say gentle, but that's not exactly the right term because it's not afraid to tell me when things need to change. And let me stop for a second and say that I personify all my decks here. I give my decks personalities, I give them energies, so I talk about them almost like they're another person. That's just what I do. I mean, why not? I have a huge collection. So but yeah, this deck shows up for me when I need it. It will hold my hand through a situation. It delivers the truth like all your decks do, but it delivers it in a way that helps me to, I don't know, maybe just understand the problem a little bit better, or maybe I just feel more comforted by this deck because in the guidebook for every single card, it has a little angel message. And there's little angels here on all the cards somewhere. Like there's that angel there. And so the guidebook gives me that little bit of added comfort. If I want to go to it for that support, I will do my reading first, my interpretations first, and then I'll look in the guidebook to see what the angel message is for each one of the cards to give me a little bit maybe gentler message or, like I said, that supportive message. So this is the one that I turn to when I'm looking for that support in my readings. So the second prompt is the deck that has told me the hardest truths. Hands down, it's the Deviant Moon Tarot. I haven't owned this tarot that long. I haven't owned Influence of the Angels that long, maybe a couple years. And I really feel like this is not a deck that you go to with trivial matters. This is the one when you really want the truth delivered in a couple cards. That's how I feel about it. And while it may, I guess, seem a little bit brutal or shadowy, if you want to call it that, it's always the messages that I needed to hear right then and there. It's not a let me hold your hand and walk you through this reading and, tell you it's going to be okay. It's going to say, get up and go. That's what this deck is going to do. So, yeah, this is the one that doesn't mince any words with me whenever I use it for any type of reading. So, I have to be sure that I'm ready to hear what it has to say when I pull it out and use it. Prompt number 3 is the deck that gave me language for my feelings. The only deck I could think of for this, because this is the one that I turn to for that reason, is my Mother Mary Oracle. She is supportive. She lifts me up. She delivers things I feel in gentlest way, more than Influence of the Angels. She is pure comfort. And because of that, when I've been feeling a certain way about things going on in my life, this is the only deck that I will go to and pull just one card, sometimes two. Rarely, though. It's usually just one card, and I sit and process through what she is telling me, the message that she's delivering to me. I don't often read Alana Fairchild's guidebooks, but I make an exception sometimes when it comes to this deck because sometimes I want to have that full message to help me process through how I'm feeling about the problem that I've brought to this deck. So I'm going to combine prompt 4 and 5 because one deck fits both of those. And the prompts are the deck that opened my eyes to what I could be and the deck that dared me to live. And for that, I've chosen the Tempest Tarot by Maisie Bristol. This is published by US Games. So this deck broke me open in ways I never expected. And I guess that I really wasn't prepared for, especially since it's a Pippish deck. And it had me diving deep into the whys because I'm pushing the backside of 55 and heading towards my 60s. And you start to look at life differently at this stage. And instead of looking at life, I've got 50, 60 years ahead of me. Those numbers have now dwindled when you're looking ahead. And I was really starting to get up in my head about that. And when I used this deck over the summer, especially while we were away at the beach, this deck reminded me how much more life I still have to live. It reminded me that just because I am the age that I am, I don't have to give up on my dreams. That there's still passions that I need to fulfill, that I need to pursue. There are still things inside of me that I need to explore. There are still things that I am reawakening in this second half, I should say, of my life. That there is not a finite amount of years, which I technically know there is. But this deck reminded me that I shouldn't be thinking about that, that I need to think about, like the prompt says, daring to live. So I just adore everything about the Tempest Tarot. So prompt number 6, I almost thought about skipping this one because I thought, I don't know if I have a deck that celebrated my biggest victories. But then I thought about the deck that I go to when I'm wanting to start a new project or when I'm questioning, whether or not I could handle one thing or another. And it seems to always be the Light Seers tarot. So I couldn't skip it. I had to pull this deck out and show it, even though it's been showed 1,000 times on Tarot 2. But the Light Seers is my biggest cheerleader. It is the deck that is always there for me, never disappoints, will give me the path, the exact path that I need to take to get from point A to point B. It will cheer me on the whole time that I'm pursuing that path. It will help me course correct so I can reach that end goal and succeed in what I'm going after. And it will let me know whether or not, hey, this isn't going to work out, but it's okay because you've got something better ahead of you. So yeah, the Light Seers, a core part of my collection, is my biggest cheerleader and will celebrate those victories right along with me. So prompt number 7 is the deck that taught me the importance of stillness. And for that, I have to go to the Biblical Tarot. The thing about this is kind of a twofold. I learned the importance of stillness from attending church. I mean, I was going to church from childhood all the way through my 20s. So I learned that importance of, being still so, you can hear God, etc. But more than that, this deck I feel like I have to slow down when I'm reading with this deck. That's what I'll say. I think I have to slow down, or I feel I have to slow down when I'm reading this deck, so I can let the messages either on the cards or from the guidebook sit with me. And so I can fully take them in, be still, and hear that other voice of what it's really trying to bring forward. I don't know. I hope that makes sense in some way, because this is the one I thought of first as soon as I read her prompt. This deck does teach me quiet my mind so I can hear my inner voice better. Maybe to not have so many judgments either about the reading. I feel that also when I use this deck. So I couldn't even think of another deck that brought me into that stillness mindset except this one. So this is another deck that's become really important in my collection and in my readings. For prompt number 8, the deck that gave me more questions than answers, I'm going to show 2. And I promise I won't talk about these long because I talk about them every month. It's the Wisdom of the Divine Feminine and the Wisdom of the Shadow. These are both independent, by Jessica Ricchetti and Jenny Han. If you happen to watch my wrap-up videos, you know I've been diving into this practice every single month the entire year. And these together, because I pull one card at the beginning of each month, bring forward a slew of whys. When I look at these cards, but I then question, why is this coming forward? Why are my expectations too high? Or why am I lowering my expectations to possibly please somebody else? And what am I not nurturing? It's just one question after another that I come up with, that then I pull out additional decks to do the reading and figure the whys out. So the decks that have more questions than answers in a good way, not in a this is confusing, but it really makes me take a hard look at myself in my life and where my energy is presently sitting in that moment of that month. So this has been one of the most enriching practices that I've done in my practice in a very long time. So I don't mind the whys. Prompt number 9 is the deck that taught me to notice the magic in the mundane. There was only one deck that came to mind for that. And that is the Rhythm and Soul Tarot. This is an independent deck put up on Stacey Williams Ng, and you can find this on her website, lepanthier.com. This deck brought magic through the music. And I took time to study Stacey's guidebook and to listen to her playlist that was attached to these cards. Every card and every song evokes some sort of different emotion in me, or it really reminded me how pivotal music has been in my life. So with that, now I take notice when a certain song grabs my attention, and really listen to the lyrics and almost pull words out in a bibliomancy style when I'm listening to it. It reminded me how much I relate music to certain situations in my life. And I could probably, if a song came on, pinpoint it back to a specific situation or a specific time period of my life, and even bring that magic forward. So for me, the magic and the mundane comes from within the music and reminds me to be present while I'm listening to those songs and how I felt in that moment. That's why I picked this prompt number 10, the deck that encourages me to embrace levity. It was this one. It's right at the front of my cupboard. The Paul's Tarot by Y Spell. is the most adorable little cat deck. And I'm not a cat deck person, but I mean, just look at these 2 of cups. Look at them drinking. Oh my gosh. When I want my spirit lifted, this is the deck I pull out. The expressions on these cats' faces, the situations that they're in for the RWS meanings just crack me up. And I've been using this deck for some self-care readings this year, and it reminds me not to be so serious. It reminds me to not take life so serious. It reminds me to also nurture myself, through that laughter and happiness, but just from the vibrant colors. Did I say that already? And I know I said about the cute images. This one, I never see this one talked about on TerraTube, and I think everybody should own it. Because it's just so cute. Look at this poor cat in the Ten of Swords with the dartboard on its back. Oh my gosh. It's just, yeah, it's a reminder not to take life so seriously. Take care of yourself in the process, but don't take life so seriously. So the last prompt I'm going to do is number 11, because I couldn't think of a deck for number 12, which is the creative project. So I'm going to stop here on number 11. And this is the deck that has shifted my practice. And for that, I picked the Oracle of the Hecatean Path, but it's really about the practice with this deck. So I put out a video where I talked about my practice with Hecate in conjunction with Mother Mary. And that practice has completely shifted my spiritual practice. And it's kind of the same scenario with that shadow and light aspect of those oracle cards that I talked about, but different at the same time. When I go to those 2 deities, and I consider Mother Mary a goddess, so those 2 goddesses, when I go to them, it's in a ritual format. It's not just sitting down throwing cards for a reading when I'm approaching them together. And I don't go to them for minor little things. These are big situations that I'm having a difficult time dealing with, processing, or I'm feeling lost or drowning or something along those lines, where I will go to both of them to work through the issue. And I use this deck with Hecate. I use Mother Mary Oracle with her. I pull cards simultaneously. I use the Lost Oracle. I use the Earth and Bone Oracle also. And that will kind of like forms a bridge between Mother Mary and Hecate. And then I pull out tarot to go with each one of them also. It's a whole ordeal. But at the same time, Hecate comes forward and brings me a challenging perspective to the situation. And then Mother Mary's energy comes forward and supports that challenge, making me rise up, level up, rise above what is happening here. So I can really look at it from a perspective that is going to lead me up and out of what I am going through. So this deck and that work has been a very pivotal part of my practice. So that is it. That wraps up this VR to Kait at Moonflower Moments. Be sure to check out her video, which I will have linked in my description box below. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate you being here. If you like the video, I do appreciate a thumbs up and all that other happy YouTube stuff. And until I see you next time, bye.